GB's here of Into the Squared Circle podcast. So welcome to another YouTube edition of the podcast. Yes, I haven't been on here in a while on YouTube land. My apologies. But here I am, new video, and I'm about to do a podcast right now. Again, Into the Squared Circle podcast, right? Yeah, it's available on all major podcasting outlets like Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and more. So wherever you listen to your favorite podcast, check out Into the Squared Circle podcast. Yes, I got extra stuff that's not going to be featured right here on the YouTube channel. Check it out right now. All the good stuff's on there. A lot of good quality, high production stuff that I can't put on here due to copyright, right? You know how YouTube is. But in the meantime, right here in this episode, I will give you guys my top 3 AEW Dynamite this past Wednesday, August the 2nd. I checked the calendar. August the 2nd of 2023. My top 3. Maybe your top 3 is different, but I'll give you a couple minutes to think about what my top 3 is, and we'll talk about it right here on the show. But since I got your attention and you're watching on YouTube, give me a like, hit the subscribe button right here on the YouTube page, almost of the podcast, but you can subscribe to that as well, right here on the YouTube page. Okay, so let's talk about my top 3 AEW Dynamite this past Wednesday, August the 2nd of 2023 on TBS, right here, right now, of Into the Squared Circle podcast. Let's do it. All right, let's talk about my top 3 AEW Dynamite this past Wednesday, August the 2nd of 2023. Sounds good? Have you thought about what my top 3 highlights of Dynamite were? If you haven't figured it out, I'm going to give you my first one. Numero uno. Let's talk about number 1 highlight of my top 3 AEW Dynamite this past Wednesday, August the 2nd of 2023. And there's a great highlight moment. Hell yeah, great moment. And that was no other than the debut of Rob Van Dam. RVD. That's right, made his All Elite Wrestling debut this past Wednesday on Dynamite. How about that? And I'm going to ask you, the viewers on YouTube, you, the listeners on the podcast, did you enjoy that moment? Were you shocked? Yes, we know there were rumors early in the day. Hey, RVD's going to come back. He might show up at All In. He might show at All Out versus Jungle Boy Jack Perry. Kind of see the theme here. Jungle Boy's going after Taz and Hook, who carried the FTW champion. Now Jungle Boy is the current champion. He won it, right? He defeated Hook for the FTW champion. Now he wants to face with Jerry Lynn this past Wednesday. Jerry Lynn was like, I'm not going out to the ring. I got a bunch of screws and bolts on my neck and back. I can't wrestle, but I have someone who could wrestle. That was part of the ECW crew. It's still going today. And next thing you know, you heard one of my favorite metal bands of all time, Pantera, the legendary metal song Walk. Walk! What did you say? That's a great song. I love Pantera. They're on tour right now, celebrating the life and legacy of the brothers and the Dimebag and Vinny, Paul, the Abbott brothers. So, yeah, man, RVD comes out and fans were just going ape shit. Fans are losing their damn minds. As Pat Patterson would say, they're going bananas. Yes, RVD comes out and he is the whole effing show. And RVD came out and, I mean, what you can say, he's a legend. One of the greats. And we're going to have a match next week on Dynamite. RVD versus Jungle Boy. Not Jungle Boy. He's now Jack Perry. That's his name now. RVD versus Jack Perry. And a great moment. And that lands one out of the three highlights of All Elite Wrestling Dynamite this past Wednesday on TBS. Now let's move on to number two. Number two highlight of All Elite Wrestling Dynamite this past Wednesday on TBS. It was a big moment. A historic match has been announced for All Elite Wrestling All In at Wembley Stadium later this month in August of 2023. The historic Wembley Stadium. A match that will, I guess, main event the show. MJF versus Adam Cole. Baby! It's going to be a good match. It's going to be an excellent match. It's going to be a story. You see a theme here, folks. So MJF came out on television this past Wednesday on TBS. MJF cut a great promo. He was leaning toward a baby face, but he wants to remind the fans that he is a heel. If you watched it this past Wednesday on TBS, MJF told the crowd, and he was, I assume it's legit. If this story is legit, if he has an actual a medical, what do you call it, like a medical reasoning. I guess he has actual ADD. The fans were chanting ADD, ADHD, whatever, attention deficit disorder. And he told the crowd that he has that. And if he actually has that, I mean, that's remarkable that he's, telling the truth. And if it's legit or not, I mean, that's it feels like it's a real deal. Let's peel behind the curtain of MJF, a rare thing we don't see on television publicly across the world. National television, of course. But he keeps saying in this promo, folks, I'm still a scumbag. Just remember, I'm still scumbag. That right there, folks, is the key word. I know, scumbag, right? How childish. But that's a key thing. Remind the fans, don't love me too much, because I'm going to screw every one of you in a couple weeks. And what a place! Think about it. What a place to screw the fans. 80,000 people on a stadium across the world on pay-per-view. Screw a great friendship. A passionate story that fans love. The best thing on Dynamite. And it's just a big middle finger. A big middle finger across 80,000 people in a stadium. Can you imagine the heartbroken, passionate fans just like, what the hell just happened? MJF screw over Adam Cole at All In. By the way, he's going to put his title on the line. He's going to put his title on the line against Adam Cole. I love this story so far. And I cannot wait to see how this story will play out the next couple of weeks leading up to All In. It's going to be one of a storyline he's going to keep. But this marquee, the first match of All In Wembley Stadium that was announced on Dynamite in this story, made it my top two highlight of All Elite Wrestling Dynamite this past Wednesday. And I enjoyed it. I can't wait for this match. See how this will play out in front of 80,000 people plus strong. I can't wait. All right, number three. My third and final highlight of All Elite Wrestling Dynamite this past Wednesday on TBS. Can you take a guess what it is? Crap, I don't remember what it is. I'm in brain farts right now. So RVD is number one. MJF and Adam Cole is number two. Number three, it was the main event of Dynamite. I remember. Hikaru Shida defeated Toni Storm to become the new Women's All Elite Wrestling Champion. Now, they pressed and they talked about it throughout that match. It was a hell of a match. A slobberknocker, as Jim Ross would say. Yes, Hikaru Shida, she was the pandemic AEW's Women's Champion. And I'm going to talk about this on my WWE SummerSlam predictions shortly. On YouTube, we had a separate video, so stay tuned. On the podcast, we'll hear it on the main event. This is why I press forward on YouTube. Check out the podcast. You get all the good stuff. But I will talk about Drew McIntyre. He was the pandemic World Heavyweight Champion. Will he deserve that title shot against Gunther at SummerSlam? That's a whole different conversation. Hikaru Shida, she won the title post-pandemic. Well-deservedly, but was it well-deservedly like she busted her ass off the past couple of weeks? We haven't seen her a whole lot on television this past couple of weeks. At least what I've been seeing. But they gave the title to Hikaru Shida on Dynamite. And that was a great moment. Could there have been some kind of a build-up the past couple of weeks to kind of show this big moment? Yeah, they easily could have, but nevertheless, it was a happy moment. Again, it's just going to make this more of a positive moment here. Confetti everywhere, and she hold the title held high to close out All Elite Wrestling 200th episode. Forgot to mention that. It was 200th episode of All Elite Wrestling Dynamite, which featured a nice package intro from Tony Khan, of course, of 200 episodes from the very beginning, which featured Cody Rhodes, because he debuted it on the very first episode in the very first match. And a great episode, entertaining Dynamite, the 200th episode. And I can't wait for another 200 more of Dynamite. So there you have it, folks. My top 3 All Elite Wrestling Dynamite this past Wednesday on TBS. And if you, the listeners, you, the viewers, have any top highlights, maybe that made it on your top 3, leave it in the comment section right here on YouTube. Or if you're listening on the podcast or on YouTube, follow me on my social media platforms, Into the Squared Circle Podcast, on Facebook, Instagram, right here on YouTube, and on X, formerly known as Twitter. So send me a DM, leave it in the comment section. Let me know what you guys think. Your top highlights of All Elite Wrestling Dynamite.